Hi everyone, it's Vincent with VASCO Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a different format. I have actually officially been doing diorama building, diorama making for 2 years now, and I wanted to celebrate that milestone and actually show you guys my first diorama compared to my most recent diorama and kind of share some experiences that I've had throughout the 2 years and things that I've learned. But before I get into that, I wanted to just thank the action figure community, the diorama community. It's been an amazing journey so far. I've met a lot of really cool people, a lot of really amazing artists who I've got to know and have really inspired me. So thank you to all of those amazing and talented artists. I also, of course, want to thank my wife for putting up with me and putting up with all the time that I put into these dioramas, and my family and my friends in general. And then the man behind the camera that you guys don't see, who is my videographer, my brother Brendan, who is an extremely talented videographer and somebody that I really enjoy doing this with. So with all of that said, we're going to get into the comparison, and please let me know what you guys think throughout this. Don't be shy leaving comments. We appreciate that. So here we go. Okay, so I wanted to give you guys a side-by-side of these dioramas. The one on the left is the first diorama that I ever made, which is actually made out of the very common white flaky styrofoam that is not the correct styrofoam to use on dioramas. But like many people, I had to start somewhere. I was new, I didn't know what I was doing, so I picked that styrofoam up at a Home Depot and made that diorama. Then I came across Al Figure's channel and started seeing a lot of other artists on Instagram and learned that the correct foam is the pink insulation foam that I have pretty much used ever since probably my third diorama. So that is what I have on the right, which is one of my most recent dioramas. And I think there's a lot of differences, but the main one is that difference in foam, and then the way that I sealed the dioramas. The one on the left uses a glossy Mod Podge, which I really don't use anymore, Mod Podge of any kind. On the right, it's a Miniwax polyurethane spray that I've been using, which preserves the foam really well, doesn't eat away the foam if you use it correctly, and has a much better finish that allows the paint detail and stuff to be the focus rather than like a glossy sealer kind of overlay. The first thing I want to point out is that I never featured this diorama on my YouTube channel, and that's just because when I wasn't planning on making a YouTube channel at first. This was the reason that I made this diorama was actually kind of interesting. When I first got back into collecting, I was actually going around to different yard sales and thrift stores and things like that, and trying to find action figures that I thought I could, sell on eBay, and have fun discovering those things again, and at the same time like making a little bit of money off of it. And a lot of it was vintage stuff that wasn't super articulated, or things that I had when I was a kid, a lot of the Kenner Batmans, Kenner Star Wars stuff. So the reason that I ever even got into dioramas was because I was seeing other resellers and other people on social media who had these really cool backdrops, and I just didn't know anything about them and wanted to learn more and say, what are those really cool looking backgrounds that they're using in their photographies to sell their eBay products or whatever it was. So I kind of then started doing some research, and I think I found like a regular blog kind of article that talked about doing brick walls, and I kind of followed that. The bricks, these are supposed to be cinder blocks, not regular bricks. I didn't really understand scale at that time, so these are not really in scale, especially when you consider the single cinder block bricks. So, you know, I tried my best to create something that could be used in those photos I was talking about for eBay, but, you know, I didn't really have that understanding. So I did everything that was in the instructions of that article I found, and not very well. Specifically, the blackwash, I really did not do a good job blackwashing this. I have certain spots where there's just very obvious white from the foam. I mean, look at this. I don't know if you guys can see if this is in focus, but that's just the white foam. That's not painted at all. And another thing that I didn't know how to do yet was magnetize. So this is all hot glued together, and not very well, I might add. This is, you can move this, and it really is interesting, because if you look at this, it's kind of like, the first thing I think is, what was really the plan here? You know, when I do a diorama, normally I'm thinking about something that maybe exists that I can reference in real life or in a comic or a movie. This I was kind of just threw together like, hey, I want to make something that is kind of interesting as a backdrop, but I really wasn't basing it off of anything. I just like, let's do some cinder blocks. I'm going to paint kind of a cement floor with different tones, and this is how it came out. So everybody starts somewhere. This is not very good. I wanted to share it with you guys because I feel like I've come a long way, but you know, really I think the main lessons from this is use the right materials. There's so many resources out there that will teach you the right materials. So that's the first place to start. And then the second thing is have an appreciation for what you're trying to recreate and the scale that it's really supposed to be. If you can start off with those things, that's a really good foundation for diorama work, in my opinion. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about the different features of this diorama because I have an episode all about this diorama, the making of it, the different features, but I took the props out of here. There's normally some rubber props, and I just want to say, you know, just the main differences between what you just saw and what you're seeing now. I can't remember exactly how many dioramas I've done, but it's been around, I would say, between 40 and 50 at this point in the past 2 years. And I've been lucky enough to be somebody who's been able to get some commissions from people and do some really cool projects for some very talented toy photographers and just some people who are really passionate about display and collecting, which is really cool. But with that first one, like I was telling you, there were so many things I didn't know, and this is one of the more recent ones that I've done. So, for example, in that first one, there weren't any windows or really artistic design kind of features on that piece, and you can see here there's so many more things. Like, this is magnetized, this has some secondary colors painted onto it, like different dirt colors, different grime kind of colors. This has a ceiling to it, it has rubble, permanent, non-permanent, it has destroyed windows, it has in-scale brickwork, it's completely in scale for 1/12 scale. There's just so many things that are, you know, done more so the correct way than when I originally started, and I didn't know the correct way to do anything. But even though that previous piece isn't, you know, my best work by any stretch, it was a starting point. Everybody has a starting point, and the reason I'm making this video is just to kind of show, like, even if you feel like what you're doing right now isn't the full potential of what you're maybe capable of from a work standpoint, everyone starts somewhere, and it's a good thing to get started. You have to practice a lot. You have to be open to criticism. You have to be open to self-criticism and self-awareness and knowing what you need to work on. And then one of the really amazing things that I've been fortunate to have is an artist and several artists that I admire who have contributed to my education on how to do these kind of builds. So one person in particular would be Al Figures. I mentioned him several times in a couple of my different videos. But Al, originally I was learning from Al just by watching his YouTube channel. He has a lot of really good tutorials, a lot of really good explanations of his dioramas. But then I was fortunate enough to actually be mentored by him in the Dio Structure Facebook group. And so we kind of got to know each other a little bit more, became kind of friends from a distance, and he really helped me evolve my skills in my diorama making, which is really cool. And there really are a lot of other diorama artists that I've mentioned before in previous videos who've helped me as well. But Al definitely deserves a lot of the credit from me in terms of wanting to motivate myself to get better. I used to watch his videos and just think, wow, I can't believe that's made out of foam, or wow, I can't believe that's an action figure display. It looks so cool, it looks so realistic. And so watching those videos really motivated me, and then to be able to connect with him person to person was just a really cool experience, and something that I think if you all are able to kind of find someone you admire, try to emulate their work, and then if you're fortunate enough to connect with that person and get some direct feedback from them, that's an amazing thing. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode, and really before I get going, I want to make sure that I thank all of you guys for watching the YouTube videos, all of my Instagram followers, anybody who has supported me, whether it's just with a like, a comment, a commission, of course. I really appreciate all of that. Without those things, I probably wouldn't have been able to continue doing this, and it is just very much appreciated. Another thing I just want to say before I go too, I hope that this video is helpful, especially to other diorama artists who maybe are just starting out. You know, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into doing this, but if you have a certain level of skill and dedication to your craft, there's no telling where that can take you. So I'm in hopefully just the beginning of my journey, and I'm really excited to see what I can do next and show you guys some hopefully really cool things in the future. So thank you in advance for sticking with me, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, because we've got some really cool stuff coming up. And of course, we'll see you on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at VASCO Toys, and in the next episode. Thanks, guys.